name is Amelia Powers, as has been said. I am a full-time career woman. I am a mother of two, one of which is a special needs child, and I am a native of Utah. It's having raised here,
and I feel that as a U.S. citizen, I have a right to rally for what I believe in. I'm very passionate about my political views. I am a transplant from another state, and I do feel that we need a diverse state, not just red, not just blue. We need a mix of both.
Which in theory sounds really good, but in the fine print of it, it says that
we have no question for you. We're being interviewed here. It's not like why are we paying attention to more than our
really.
So that would be the question.
No, way to go, Mike Lee.
You know what? She's really fair. She actually does a really good job.
800 people here.
You did a great job on that story. You did a great job. I know there's a lot of emotion because I want to thank you. She really does a great job. So yeah, don't worry about it.
Shut down Lee! Shut down Lee! Shut down Lee! Shut down Lee!
Politicians, some of whom have become his political adversaries, demonstrating the need at an early age.
We're allowed to be here.
Yeah, she says my class is
Did you reserve
so individual graduating
I did.
from
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I'm right now.
Shane Harris.
Do you watch Grandpa? Yeah, I was just where is my dad? I never said it.
Oh yeah, you did. You told me that. Yes, you did. That's why you wanted to pay it down.
Can you come sit down with my Austin for a little bit?
That's what child board in the one-room cabinet is Kentucky grew to be president of the Abraham Lincoln. He paid a high price for his
And justify the means, that's why.
His wife said,
Interview omelet, eggs, bacon omelet.
this is great. His wife said the constant attacks caused him great pain, but he held true.
Why don't you cut them with your tents there?
I've spent my time as president.
You spend hours and hours and hours planning for that.
Union is ever safe.
Oh, because I did.
Not like
Did you get to stay home with no pay? Did you get to? Because my husband lost his job because of the shutdown.
I'm unemployed right now too because of environmental regulations.
Pay the price, bringing down the wall of economic stress, and the wall of iron. Words. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. His fight was bitter, but his legacy as a great leader lives on. The child born in our generation and raised in Virginia is Utah, and Virginia and Utah is Mike Lee. He is paying a high price for attempting to bring down the wall of political apathy and the wall of unconstitutional dogma.
Hey, bro, they're not going to listen to you.
When a great leader like Mike Lee plants a stake in the ground and fights for our constitutional freedoms of God, family, and country, and his fellow constituents declare he must be reprogrammed to repeat instead government, village, and new world order. It is no surprise that Mike Lee has taken a great deal of heat for his stand. For all the freedom fighters who left the system completely demonized, as the lives of Abraham Lincoln and Ronald Reagan have demonstrated. The walls of slavery, economic distress, and iron these great presidents brought down are steadily being rebuilt. Not only by those who want to take our liberties, but by those of us who have become slothful in standing for truth. Because of our political idleness, the silent majority is now the minority. And political correctness running roughshod over Christian and Jewish values and beliefs. My name is Robert Sorensen. I am a small business owner and state these truths because I'm following the example of a great statesman and true patriot, Mike Lee.
All right, Bob, thank you very much.
You want the Tribune?
You know, before we bring up our legislators, we'll bring them up in a second.
Well, congratulations that you still have your job. My conservative Republican family members are going to love
This is the Constitution of the United States. I don't know about you, but I don't think any of you out there need to be rehabilitated. All right? So let's turn it over to Ken. Where's Ken and Mark? Come on up, guys.
He's not representing his constituents. Him and Ted Cruz jointly made a irrational decision to
Thank you for being here.
the government and cost our taxpayers $30 billion.
It's the right place to be. It's the right time to be here. 5 years ago,
According to
5 years ago,
this is
our nation was diagnosed with a very serious illness,
economy of Utah
a fiscal cancer in our nation
because of Mike Lee.
that many said was
I want
terminal.
Bennett back.
There were a lot of people that said, no, don't worry about that. We'll just treat it with drugs. We'll just use painkillers. We'll print $85 billion a month and make the pain go away.
I stood up making the sign
And 2 years ago,
showed up at
we
a rally
hired
where I
a
was
second
clearly
opinion
one of the few.
in our Senator Mike Lee.
And I was...
Because there were many experts, Erskine Bowles, the Clinton White House Chief of Staff, Alan Simpson, Senator from Wyoming, David Walker, the former head of the Government Accountability Office, Admiral Mike Mullen, who said that the greatest threat to our national security is the debt and the overloaded federal government. And so we hired a doctor to go back to Washington and give us a second opinion.
It's like not... Yeah, she's like, you can't...
And they said that without serious treatment, without the chemotherapy, and without the radiation, the patient is going to die. I asked you, who loves the patient more?
They're attacking me, and then they're little children on the ground and I accidentally stepped on a child.
Who loves the patient more? It's not the easy answer. It's not the monetary morphine. It's not the painkiller. It's the tough medicine. But who loves the patient more?
Shut down Lee!
In Utah, your legislature in Utah overwhelmingly passed a resolution directing the congressional delegation to arrest the devastating impacts on Utah families, on Utah businesses, on Utah individuals.
Get that old lady's face now.
You leave her alone.
Do something, bud. Do something.
And we sent that to our congressional delegation, so I ask you, who loves Utah more? And with Mike Lee, I am grateful for my children.
Shut down Mike Lee!
You couldn't do it. Don't touch. Don't touch.
We know that as we continue to just administer the medication, the monetary morphine, to allow families to go out and
little man.
our children will pay that price. So I stand with Mike Lee and I ask you, including, who loves Utah more? Who loves this nation more? Thank you. Keep up the fight. Share that with everyone you know.
The right to assemble. You can say what you want. Listening.
They keep me going forward. They keep me.
Shut down Lee!
Hey, I'm trying to listen. I always say government is a reflection of the people. The reflection I've seen today is awesome. Thanks all of you for coming out today. You know, when I first heard Mike Lee speak when he was campaigning, he kept pulling out the Constitution like Rod Arquette had. Everywhere he went, he pulled out the Constitution.
I would agree with that.
Pulled out the Constitution. This is what I stand for. This is what I believe. This is what I'm going to uphold. And that's what he's done.
I'm really happy.
Finally, we have somebody that has done what he said he would do. Justify the Constitution. Now I stand with Mike Lee as well, and at this time we need to give him all the support we can. It can get pretty lonely up there, I'm sure. Support him. I stand with Mike Lee. You all stand with Mike Lee, and you all stand for yourselves, for your families, to keep these principles of liberty, the Constitution, the founders that stood when they framed the Constitution. Stand with your families, your communities, your neighbors. Stand with yourselves to preserve these.
Taxpayers want $24 million.
And what you guys do, and as we do that, we'll support Mike Lee and representatives out there fighting for this cause. Thank you. Mike Brown, where's Mike? All right, Mike. Can I ask you a question? Good morning. My name is Mike Brown.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question, ma'am?
Only soul in a red state.
Can I ask you a question?
Shut up. I don't need more
Get out of there.
I'm here today for Mike Lee, not because he cannot be rehabilitated, as some have said, but because he is actually standing up for what is right.
I do, and you're not allowing me to listen.
Obamacare is a disastrous and immoral law that will fundamentally transform our country.
I'm not doing anything to your side.
I'm grateful that Mike Lee understands this and the other threats to our individual liberty and is fighting against them.
As an American citizen
We all
as
need to
well.
stand
No, but you are disrupting, man. You are allowed to be here, but you're preventing me, ma'am. You're preventing me from this.
But I'm here to me and it means something.
No, she is yelling.
He's actually keeping his oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. This has become a foreign concept to most in D.C. I believe, as did George Washington, in deeds, not words. Talk is cheap. Mike is actually doing what he promised to do and taking action to stop Obamacare. politicians were really against Obamacare, as many profess to be, then they would have supported the efforts of Mike Lee and Ted Cruz to defund it. Unfortunately, when party power and popularity are more important to politicians than principles, then we the people suffer. My wife and I welcomed our 5th boy into the world just last week. I want him and all my boys to enjoy the same freedoms that I have had. As Ronald Reagan said, freedom is a fragile thing and is never more than one generation away from extinction. It is not ours by inheritance. It must be fought for and defended constantly by each generation, for it comes only once to a people. Those who have known freedom and then lost it have never known it again. As a dad and a citizen, I have personally spent hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars of my own money standing up for my family's freedom. We need leaders like Mike Lee who have the courage to stand up for the common sense conservative principles that our nation was built upon. Thomas Paine said, "Those who expect to reap the blessings of liberty must undergo the fatigues of supporting it." As Utahns, we firmly believe in the Constitution and in individual freedom. We are lucky to have a senator in Mike Lee who has the courage to stand for our principles and to defend truth and virtue. It truly is Utah's time to lead, and I am thankful to Mike Lee for leading the way. Thank you.
Mike, thank you very much. Excuse me there, young man. Thank you. Now, remember what you were going to do. A few years ago, I went to school down in the great state of Texas. And any of you who have been to Texas knows that they can be a bit arrogant and a bit proud of their great state. Now, a couple of weeks ago, as Avelia pointed out, when Ted Cruz showed up, they gave him an 8-minute ovation. We're going to beat that, aren't we? Remember that. Now, before we begin, I want to recognize a couple of people behind me. Mia Love is here. Let's give Mia Love a great hand. And the chairman of the Utah Republican Party, James Evans. Now, to introduce our great senator from the state of Utah, I want to take a few minutes and introduce Boyd Matheson, who's his chief of staff and does a great job, and Boyd is going to introduce Utah Senator Mike Lee. Boyd?
All right, what a crowd, what a beautiful sight. This looks way better than things that we see back in Washington. Give you just a quick metaphor of what's been going on back in Washington and what your great senator has been doing. Debbie Thomas wrote of going to the Matterhorn in Switzerland and that tiny little village at the base of the Matterhorn called Zermatt. And it used to be that the only way you could get in there was either to hike in or helicopter in. And many of the people who would want to climb the Matterhorn, they actually had to sign a release that said that if they died in their attempt to scale that great height, they would be willing to be buried in the cemetery in Zermatt. And of course, over the years, many tried to climb that great mountain and some failed. And she described going around the cemetery. Hi, how are you? And she said there wasn't a sadness there, but there was a power, and there was an energy, and there was a strength. And she said, chiseled in granite as you went in to that cemetery were the words, "I chose to climb." And when you take on Washington and when you take on the establishment, it is a long, hard fight. When Senator Lee was standing on the floor of the U.S. Senate with Ted Cruz, and they were almost 21 hours in, and they both had sore feet and tired voices and bleary eyes, Senator Lee commented, this is what it feels like. We are so blessed as Utahns to have a senator who is willing to stand up, stand out, and even stand alone when necessary to fight for each one of you. And whether the battle is easy or hard, Mike Lee will choose to climb. And whether he gets, we kind of joke at the office, we get him at the end of the day, and we get him to his place, and some of us pull the arrows out of the front of him, the rest pull the knives out of the back. We dust him off and say, we'll see you in the morning, Senator. It's going to be great. But he's willing to do it day after day after day. And when the pressure gets hot, he chooses to climb. When the battles are fierce, he chooses to climb. And so let me ask you, did you all like Mike when he chose to stand up to President Obama and his unconstitutional recess appointments? And did you like Mike, even before he set foot in the Senate, he began the important debate to put an end to earmarks and control spending? And did you like Mike when just last week he gave a speech that laid out a beautiful, powerful, positive agenda that will help Utah families and Utah students? Did you like Mike? And did you like Mike when he was determined, and is still determined, to make sure that we can stop this thing called Obamacare, and more importantly, get our country on the right track? Did you like Mike? And we ask you to continue to stand with Mike and continue to climb. We have big mountains yet to overcome in this country, but if we stand together, and if we climb together, we will do that. So help me show how much we like Mike. Please welcome your Senator, Mike Lee.